It all started with me asking the internet a very simple question. Where is the best meal you had in San Diego? And the boy who ate San Diego was born. In this series, you'll come along with me and my friends to experience the best of San Diego food. I hope. Some of y'all got suspect taste. It's gonna be fun. Trust me. Come on, let's eat. No lack of incredible dining experiences here in San Diego. I mean, obviously, or I wouldn't have this show, but sometimes you'll hit a place that is truly something special. And I want to give a shout out to my buddy and fellow YouTuber, Stephen Oliver, for hipping me to this week's place. Let's head up to the city of Oceanside for Dija Mara. Dija Mara was the second restaurant recommended to me on this series. The first was their sister restaurant, Hoxton Manor. Unfortunately, Hoxton Manor closed before I could get there. But I wasn't going to make that mistake with Dija Mara. Located in the North County city of Oceanside, Dija Mara mixes Southeastern Asian flavors with Western flair and Japanese cooking techniques to create an incredibly unique Balinese menu. I'm just going to go right ahead and call it, this is the best place I've been to. Right here, this one, this is it, this is the one. The food at Dija Mara is almost impossible to describe, but I'm gonna do my best. Layered, detailed, painstakingly thought out. I have always rolled my eyes and hated every person that ever described the dish as clean, because how stupid is that word to describe food? But honestly, I get it now. My friends and I damn near ran down the whole menu, but right now I'm just gonna talk about the things that I specifically ordered. The first dish I had was called the Mie Goreng. Spicy wok-fried noodles with lamb shoulder and sprouts. That particular night that I visited, they were unfortunately out of lamb, so they substituted chicken thighs. Our server warned me that their spice level starts at about a 7, and I warned her not to threaten me with a good time. The noodles were tender, the flavors were rich, so powerful, and they were not playing with that spice level. Honestly, if they'd gone any further with the spice, I probably couldn't eat it, but it was right where it needed to be, and damn was it good. While I'm not sure how authentically Balinese this dish is, kind of skirting a line between Thai and Indian flavors, but it doesn't matter. It was incredible. So good. Dija Mara offers several types of meat skewers, and the first one I had was the Big Eye Tuna Skewer with fermented chili aioli, curry leaves, and breadcrumbs. And I learned quickly that Dija Mara knows how to pair textures and flavors at a next level place. The tuna was soft and buttery with a beautiful crunch of those crumbs and just an astringent citrusy note on the finish. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful piece of fish. Another big standout for me was the beef short rib rendang with Indo ferments topped with a pickled egg and coconut rice. I took off the pickled egg because that's gross. But the rest of the dish was incredible. I don't know how they managed to get so much flavor and so much going on in such a small plate of food. The depth of it was just description defying. And again, it had that incredible heat going to it that I absolutely loved. The meat was so tender and rich and just had this beautiful fresh note of the mint come in on the finish. So good. So just to give you a little insight into the process of how I do this show, when we pick a restaurant, I don't immediately go through the menu. I like to largely be surprised when I walk in there and see things for the first time and just have what appeals to me in that moment. But it is very common once I get there for me to kind of look at, because I want to know what's in the dish, if there's anything I don't like. I kind of really scan the ingredients. After my first bite of food at Dija Mara, I did not look at a single thing on the menu after that, and we had almost everything. I didn't care what was in it. I was ready for anything. They earned my trust right out of the gate, and everything I had was so good. It's a smaller place, so it's an ideal choice for a date night. The vibe is very modern, hip, the staff is top tier, and the food, as I said, best I've had this season. Absolute winner. It is going to be really hard to top this for the rest of the year. So that was my experience at Dija Mara, but now it's time to take it to the group. Let's head on down to Uptown Tower in the heart of Hillcrest and talk it out. Before we get started on the discussion to our visit to Dija Mara, I want to take a minute and give a shout out to our very gracious host for tonight's recap recording, Uptown Tavern. Located in the heart of Hillcrest, Uptown Tavern is your home away from home in the community. Whether you're looking for a great place to hang with friends over some cocktails and delicious shareable plates, or a wild weekend outing, the staff at Uptown Tavern has got you covered. You can experience everything from the intimate setting of their Aero Lounge and private bar, or throw down on the dance floor with great DJs and the main bar on the weekends. Unwind after a long day at work, catch the big game, or host your own private event. Uptown Tavern is the home away from home and family you've been looking for. Let's go ahead and start with the cocktails. The cocktails at Dija Mara are all wine-based, which is why I was not really jazzed about having one because I'm not much of a wine guy. And this is the part of the cocktail review where there's like a record scratch sound. Because I'm gonna turn it over to Suzanne, who ordered the Pandani Dropper. A pandan-infused agave wine with pineapple, coconut, and lime, and she was good enough to share this drink with me, and when I tried it, I don't know if it was the wine, I don't know if it was the tannins, it literally tasted like acid reflux to me.
It was a journey.
It was green, and I wanted it to be a grasshopper, because I am secretly 3 middle-aged housewives from the 60s in a trench coat. I love a grasshopper. So it was a no for me. Please take us through that journey.
Oh yeah, that was a lot. I kept trying to figure the drink out. First of all, it arrives at the table, it's absolutely stunning, beautiful color, presentation was on point, so I'm excited about it, Coconut, lime, pineapple, refreshing. It's gonna complement a lot of those spices that we're gonna have with our meal, so I was all for it. I felt like I was kind of tasting it backwards, honestly. I got the aftertaste gave me all of those notes, but the actual taste on your palate while you're drinking it was not that. So I literally only went back to it to try to figure it out. It was, I wouldn't call it a cocktail. I'd call it more of a concoction.
Okay.
But yeah, it just didn't, it wasn't it.
It wasn't it.
It really wasn't it.
Chris, you tried some too.
I'm so glad it was at the table.
I enjoyed it the way that you look back on something and tell a great story, right? It absolutely looks like it's supposed to be minty, and it is not minty. It definitely, you get an initial flavor impression, and then that fades to something else, and then it faded to something else, and then it faded to something else, and it was, and for that, I really enjoyed it. It was an experience. If I would go back there with a group of 4 or 6 and order one just to share it. I would not order that to drink on my own, but I would say, okay, but try this. Because I didn't dislike it.
Horrible.
I didn't dislike it. I thought it was really interesting, and ultimately interesting in a good way. Apparently I'm alone on that one.
Try this. It has a flavor.
Yeah, it has like 5 or 6 flavors in succession. It was an everlasting gobstopper of vaguely pleasantness.
But see, the thing on paper, it was supposed to be one thing, but it really didn't present that way until after. I got all of those notes, pineapple, lime, coconut, all very classic flavors that work together. I only got that on the back end. Honestly, it was like, when you have the party when you're 25 and you have leftovers from the last party and someone's playing bartender and they're trying to figure it out and they're just like, hey, I don't know, it'll turn out okay. I don't know who co-signed that drink, but no.
And yeah, the initial was a what did I just drink? But once that went away, all the rest of it was good.
So as the plates of food started to arrive at the table, this is really more shareable plates than whole entrees for everyone, and we're usually a pass the plate club anyway, so this worked out really well for a group like us. And the first thing that made its way to the table was the grilled roti bread, which is a soft flat bread made from stone ground whole wheat flour. And it was, I literally in my notes wrote love at first bite. It just warm, soft, a delicate chew, I could have smashed a phone book size pile of these things. And it was served alongside a lamb jus curry and a vegetable rendang curry for dipping. And I think, unless my calculations are incorrect, I am the only person at the table who preferred the lamb jus curry.
I think you're right.
No, it had a really nice heat to it, and I don't think I'd had roti bread before. I'd had naan, but this is an unleavened bread, so it's very different.
I like the lamb jus curry, but the pendang was the stealer of that particular dish.
Yeah, no, I would have gone like Olive Garden endless bread on that stuff. It was so good. The next thing that came to the table was a very interesting dish, and Harry's already talked about it, the Bream Ceviche with mackerel lime, haju, herb oil, and coconut cream served with a side of cassava chips.
Absolutely, it was the best thing I had all night. Best thing all night. The cassava chips were they looked like potato chips, but they weren't as salty and they didn't have the same upfront potato flavor.
Right.
Yeah, and with the light flavors that were going through the various liquids that were around it, and the citrus in the fish, it was so flavorful and so light and delicious.
The presentation was stunning. The colors are just so vibrant. Like it's one of those places where you don't even want to disturb it. It's beautiful.
And we'd already been burned by something pretty and green here, so.
True, redemption green. But the only thing I will say is flavor on point. Everything was great. That coconut cream that they had with it, wonderful. I wanted something more. I believe the crunch factor was missing.
Okay.
I know the cassava chips were there, but they felt sort of as an afterthought. I feel like it could have been a crumble. It could have been something on the top that provided that, or maybe a little bit. They had, I believe, a radish. It might have been a daikon. I believe it was daikon radish that they had with it. Maybe even just a little bit of a thicker cut on that, just to give it some sort of other texture, because that delicate fish needed support.
Amy, did you try any of the ceviche? Yeah.
It was one of my favorites as well. And I had gotten a cocktail too that had a spice to it, like tequila style cocktail. I believe it was jalapeno infused wine, which it was good, but maybe a spicy drink with spicy food wasn't the right choice for me at that point. But all those cooling flavors just felt so good. It was just like a little breeze coming through the meal, and
That'd be a bomb meal in the summer.
Yeah. It was I really enjoyed it though.
Okay. The next thing that arrived at the table was a vegetarian dish. It was a Chinese Yu Choy, which is very similar to bok choy, steamed greens served in a savory broth with grated coconut. Fun fact about me, which did not occur to me until I was actually eating this dish, I've never had collard greens before.
What?
Ever. Never once ever. And I just hadn't. And I was eating it and I was just like, this is good. I wonder if this is what collard greens are like. Are they?
Somewhat, yeah. Okay. These were more Asian in flavor. This is a really good dish.
And they weren't mushy, I like that.
The collard greens are closer to chard, maybe.
Oh.
Well, I
not
also
burnt.
No, not burnt.
Like
chard.
Swiss chard.
Yes.
Well, I also know that collard greens always incorporate like pork or some kind of protein in it, and these did.
I do a vegetarian collards, but
As beans in it, you wouldn't like it. I thought this dish was amazing and really, really flavorful. I kind of wanted to get some bread or something to soak up the bits of sauce that are still in the bottom.
Actually, Chris, you brought up a really important thing in your notes. You had said that over some rice, this would make a great center of the plate dish.
absolutely,
Or center of the
absolutely.
table.
That was one also that our server stated was one of her like 3 favorites, and which surprised me, but that was one that all the servers there should absolutely recommend, I think.
Did we enjoy it at that end of the table?
Yeah. No. I usually have a problem with gluten, but I took a pill just to be able to experience everything that night. and I don't regret anything. It was worth it. Well, and the Yu Choy dish also, I thought would be like a really approachable dish, maybe for somebody that couldn't handle some of the other spices, or if you're bringing someone there who's not a really adventurous eater. I think that could be a good dish to give them, because it was very flavorful, but it wasn't spicy necessarily, and the combination of flavors didn't seem too out of what I was used to with Asian food in general.
So, a very Oceanside dish.
Hold on.
Oh, shots fired.
Maybe you need to make the trek up to Oceanside more, because let me tell you, sir, we have a banging food scene. So, yeah, there's a lot to be discovered.
I hear there's a Benihana now. Oh my lord.
The next thing to arrive at the table.
Delight, Christopher.
The very not vegetarian Ayam Penyet, which is Dija Mara's take on fried chicken served with coconut rice and house sambal. I could eat a whole platter of this. The chicken was juicy, tender, fantastic crunch to it. The sambal, which is Indonesian chili paste, landed differently with a few folks. Do tell.
That stuff is potent. That stuff is definitely potent. This has always been on my list of I wanted to try and never could quite feel justified in getting it. So glad I finally had it. It was really tasty. Everything you said is absolutely correct. Interesting way, they call it fried chicken, but it's not exactly breaded. The crumbles kind of came all over the place.
I am not proud of the association in my head it created. It was like high-class shake and bake.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I'm from the suburbs, all right?
But it meant that even after we got every damn morsel of chicken off those bones, there were still the little crispy bits left that you could mix up with some of the coconut rice and the sambal. And yeah, I absolutely will have that again. I loved it. It was, yeah.
Just proceed with caution with the sambal.
I was gonna say, show me on the doll where the sambal touched you.
It hit me like a rocket in my throat. I was like, okay, and I love spice. Like, I have no issue with heat whatsoever. But yeah, I got a little too eager with that condiment, and it was like, just completely blew my top. But I kept eating, so it was good. It was great.
It was like Indonesian gochujang for me, and I love gochujang. Oh my god. Big winner. Absolutely love this dish. The next thing that came to the table was we had the short rib rendang. Now we had the tofu rendang, which is tofu and tempeh with pickles, cucumbers, and peanut sauce served alongside coconut rice. I low-key love tofu. I really, really do. And it mirrors the flavor of whatever you're serving it with. So it's like you get a mouthful of, yes, that. It's kind of what it does when you eat it. And for me, I found the way they cook the tofu to be like toothsome and so richly flavored with great crispy shallots. And one of the things that I love is that this dish was able to be enjoyed despite the fact that it has a peanut sauce by the only person at our table who is allergic to peanuts. So, how was it?
Oh, it was excellent. They did a substitute sauce for us that was not a peanut sauce, despite how it tasted. And I high-key love tofu, and I thought it was excellent. The tempeh, I think I had a bite of that as well, and that wasn't as amazing as the tofu, but that's fine. The tofu was so good, and the sauces and all the ways that the different bits played together. And I love it when they serve something like that in a bowl, but it's all kind of separated out, so I can choose my own adventure.
Yes.
Because that's my favorite way to eat. So this was amazing, and it, as the pescatarian, I was definitely having a bit of FOMO watching all these other dishes come out. But this one just made up for it. It was so good.
I'm going to interject now, though, with if anybody from the restaurant is watching this,
And of course they
Hoxton Manor made the best tofu dish I've ever had in my life. The smoked tomato tofu. Please bring that back.
The last dish of the night was the whole fried market fish with tamarind glaze, Europe salad, and herbs. Now, I have this hang up about food. I know, it's a little weird. I clearly have no problem eating anything that used to have a face. I would simply rather that face not still be attached to it while I'm eating it. But, you know, they brought him to the table and Mr. Limpet's fried carcass was laid out before us with the horrified final expression on his face. It looks like he took a sharp left into an underwater electric fence. And there he was. And I did have a bite. Because the other reason I don't like a whole fish is because it's too much work, right? Like, you have to cut it up while keeping the napkin over his head the whole time, and it makes it really hard. And I don't like bones in my fish, and it's too hard to get, and it's just, like, texturally, in the ick factor, it is just a goddamn nightmare for me. That having been said, I want to give props to Chris for cutting a little bit of the fish and kind of breaking that seal after he knew I was upset enough by looking at it.
I played the dad role for you.
Yes, thank you.
That one.
Thank you for that. And the fish was very flaky and buttery, and it paired really nicely with the crisp exterior and the sweet tamarind sauce. Amy, I want to call you out for a note that you gave that I'm going to need you to explain to me. She said, and I quote, "Whole fish is fun." What the F, bro? How is it fun?
It's an adventure. Like, it comes out on a plate and everyone looks at it. And it's
An adventure like a cocktail that can't decide which of the 5 terrible flavors it is?
Hey, 4 of those tape flavors were good.
It's like that meme about how some people just order fajitas because they want everyone to pay attention to them. It's like, yeah, it's like them singing happy birthday to you, but not as weird.
Showstopper.
We just bring it out.
I have seen a singing fish.
Yeah, and they just bring it out and set it down and it becomes, it's culinary. And I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up eating fish all the time. It's normal. It wasn't that wild. Fish have bones. That's the thing, and you know. I don't eat most animals, but I accept that the ones that I do have a face, whether or not I see it. Okay. So, yeah, it was fun.
I thought it was delicious. I mean, I didn't eat a whole lot of it, honestly, because I, like you, I mean, I love food, okay, but yeah, I just didn't want to deal with it.
Yeah, but generally your steak isn't like high.
No. No, and you know what? I don't even generally have a problem with it, like with even a face on my food. I'm like, whatever. Thank you for your service, you know, but yeah, no, it was flavorful. I just didn't want to mess with it, honestly, but what I did taste of it was flaky and delicious. Yeah, it was good, and I actually really liked all of the fish skin that's what I was going for, that little bit of crunch.
So I want to talk for a bit before we wrap it up here, because obviously we all love the food. You know, even though some things could have been served in a different order, there were, you know, some things we wouldn't order again, some things that we would absolutely. That is one thing I would like to go around the room. What is your yes, absolutely first on the list? I am getting this again, Amy.
Well, I mean the roti.
Yeah.
If that counts. The tofu rendang was amazing, as expected. So.
Chris?
You can't not start with the roti. It's the best thing. It is unquestionably. You have to start with that. Otherwise, boy, it's hard to pick. Somewhere between the Mie Goreng and the chicken.
The Mie Goreng was it for me. Suzanne?
It's kind of a tie. The Mie Goreng was delicious. I loved it. Loved the chew of it. Oh man. But those greens were so. I wanted to bathe in that broth. I wanted more of it. Like whatever. Whatever.
Sorry, honey.
Let's keep it PG, Chris.
I said it before, my favorite dish was the ceviche. Absolutely ordering that again when I go back.
Shannon, what's your must do?
Oof. I would take a pill for that roti. It was worth it because I have a gluten problem, but it's it's worth it. Definitely the ceviche, and the greens were good, but the short ribs, I want them to have their own chance without having something super spicy beforehand. Yeah, I want to go back for that just to like get it in there.
And there you have it. If you know of an amazing place in San Diego that you think I should try, go ahead and send me an email at theboywhoatesandiego@gmail.com, or you can link to one of my socials, which will be attached to this video. See you next time.